That's Twisted.
This is Mark McNease in New Jersey with my co-host,
Rick Rose in Shreveport, Louisiana.
And you're listening to The Twist. Welcome back, everybody, to The Twist, America's only clothing-optional podcast. This is Mark McNease here, and how you doing, Rick?
I'm good. Yeah, welcome back is the big thing. We have people that join us week to week to week. Please be part of that crew, guys. You can subscribe to our show as well.
Our numbers are growing. They really are, and they can find us on iTunes, Libsyn, thetwistpodcast.com, of course, and Stitcher, wherever, and YouTube. We are everywhere. You know, like, you cannot get away from us in a good way. Now, I want to just mention, because everybody will have heard, at least the returnees, the new opening, which says that I'm in New Jersey, because I will be. I'm not actually there this week, but as you know, Rick, my husband and I, Frank, are moving to our house in New Jersey. I'm super excited. I got a job at the giant grocery store out there. I love it. Getting a second car, I hope, tomorrow. And we're moving to the country. And I'm just really happy. I'm very happy. I'm very productive. And that's that. I just want to let everybody know that before we get to our sponsors. Do you have anything you want to let people know before we do the brought to you buys?
No, we'll jump into our sponsors. And yeah, you know, it always says I'm in Shreveport, Louisiana, where I am today, but often I'm somewhere else, including Wisconsin, which ties in with our sponsors this morning, Mark.
Go for it. You take the lead.
So this month, the month of May, is a beautiful month, and we want to shout out to our sponsor, angelonmyshoulder.org. That's right. It's an organization for those affected by cancer called Angel on My Shoulder. It's based in Wisconsin, but don't let that hold you back. They do great things for folks everywhere. Check them out on Facebook or online. This month, the month of May, they want to remind you that it is Skin Cancer Detection and Prevention Month as we head into the summer months. So be prepared for that. Also, May 19th is their last day to register for their big 21st annual Golf Spectacular. If you feel like heading to Wisconsin, the Northwoods, and golfing, go check that event out, which happens in early June.
Excellent. And this month, which is May, I'm coming to you from Lovers and Loners. It's Jean Ryan's new short story collection, and she's bringing the show to people this month. Jean is an amazing writer, and in this new collection of hers, it's called Lovers and Loners, we meet a richly varied group of women struggling for footholds in a shifting world. From a widow who agrees to have dinner with a man she fears is a killer, to another running errands on the last day of her life, Ryan demonstrates why Publishers Weekly said of her previous collection's survival skills, Jean Ryan brings to the short story what Mary Oliver does to poetry. It is now available in paperback and ebook. And yes, Jean is a friend of mine, and she's also one of the finest writers I know. So please check that out and all her other books. There you go.
Cool.
By the way, if anybody wants to sponsor us, you know, just send us an email to podcast@thetwistpodcast.com, and we will get back to you.
That's right. Speaking of podcasts, I'm going to have that be one of my subjects today. You've got a great thing to talk about. We're going to end the show with a wonderful quote before we bid you all adieu. But first, we start with my favorite part of the show, this week's Readlines.
Yes, here we go. Oh, by the way, I thought you were getting me to say something about I'm bringing back the Age to Perfection podcast. You and I used to do it as co-hosts.
Well, no, I am going to say that. I'm going to say that. Okay, hold it. Make people want to hear about it.
I want them to want it, so never mind. Forget. Just pretend I didn't say that. It's like in court when they say strike that. Like everybody who heard this, everybody on the jury is suddenly supposed to pretend they didn't.
I object.
They didn't hear that. So, okay, you ready for the headlines?
You got it. You start.
I will. Oh, I'm sorry. I was looking at my healthcare stuff, which is one of my big topics. All right. Museum donors. I don't know if you knew this, but you know about the Met Gala, right?
It's a big controversy, yeah.
Yeah, huge thing where they were smoking in the bathrooms and putting pictures on Instagram, like supermodels with cigarettes, and then some guys who, they got to be gay. They just got to be. Tom Ford or somebody. They're like wearing tuxedos and got the stubble thing going on. So anyways, they posted pictures of themselves smoking in the bathrooms. And by the way, that is a big, serious no-no. So the authorities at the Met, the higher ups, are really pissed about it. And I can understand that.
Yeah.
Bad modeling. Speaking of modeling, it's very bad modeling.
Speaking of modeling, speaking of fashion, last week, I think one of our tops, we talked about Neiman Marcus's Holy Dirty jeans, or jeans that are pre-dirty, and you can get them for $425. Well, they've topped themselves this week. The headline reads, Neiman Marcus selling $1,425 pair of pre-destroyed shoes, Mark. They're called the Future Destroyed High Top Sneaker. They're designed by Maison Margelier. It's listed for that amount of money on the high-end retailer Neiman Marcus's website. Go check out the photo. It's like this high top that's been destroyed in the yellow foam that fills the shoes, kind of showing. It's really strange. But when you're there, you also have to check out the second headline. Clear knee mom jeans baffle online Nordstrom shoppers. So click over to Nordstrom's website and you'll see these jeans, Mark, that are called that about moms, and they sell for $95. And you look down, and right where the knees are, they have clear plastic over them. They describe them as slick plastic panels, bare your knees for a futuristic feel, and tapered and cropped high waist jeans.
I got to ask you though, like where this is going. Are we going to have like dirty underwear? Is the next big thing? You buy them with skid marks with the pre-skidded? What do you think?
That's nasty.
I mean, why? No, but why not?
Ass. I say that's nasty ass. I know. Where is the good stuff?
I'm willing to cook for strangers, but guests are harder to find. You know, Airbnb, of course, and Uber. Who doesn't know Uber? So, did you know that there are apps now that they're trying to? It's like you get strangers to come. You cook, and then you get a bunch of strangers to come and eat at your house.
Weird.
It's an app called Airdyne. The problem is that according to this article, and there are several of these apps that are trying to get this off the ground. One is called Eat With, but the people don't show up. So you got 6 people coming to your house. You make this fabulous dinner. You spend all day on it, and nobody shows up.
That's funny.
I guess part of it is that they're not. I don't know if they pay for it or not. When you think about it, maybe that's part of the problem. Okay.
I don't. Yeah, you got to commit to it. I know there's like clubs like that all over the country. Here's one. It's raining poop at Penn Station. Have you heard the story?
No, but it really fits in with what I asked about.
I know. That's what I was thinking about. The MTA in your city of New York City said the liquid was coming from 2 Penn Plaza, the building that sits above the station. Apparently something went amiss and water continued to trickle from the ceiling the other day. From 3 p.m. to 9 p.m., the area flooded in Penn Station. They had to close it down, and it was nothing but sewage.
Oh, my gosh.
That's really gross. Sorry. I had to share the story.
Perfect sound effect opportunity there.
Yes, there you go.
This one is very sad. You know, I think we're having more fun with these, and that's a good way to go. It entertains people. But this one is very serious and sad. There was a gay couple who had lived together for many years, but they spent 20 of the last 20 years of their togetherness in Mississippi. And then, one of these guys is like, the survivor is like 86 years old. Or no, the one who died was 86. So, you know, these are old guys. And then the funeral home that had agreed to come get them, once they found out it was a homosexual couple, they refused to pick up the body and said, we don't do business with your kind. So a lawsuit was filed, and it was just tragic and heartbreaking. And it's a reminder that, you know, because I got to say this, I posted it on Facebook, and then I got a couple of friends who did the teardrop emoji or whatever it is, the I'm so sad thing. And it's like my response, I didn't say this to them, but I'm going to say it to you and to our listeners. Don't get sad about this shit. Don't put a little crybaby emoji, Facebook emoji on there. Get pissed off, because this is how we are still treated. We can still be treated. And the way things are going with this administration, I expect more of this kind of crap. So it's very sad.
So from crap to crap to crap, let's talk about our president.
That's our theme.
It is. When you talk about this administration, there's so much we could go off on. But sticking to the headline, red lines, Merriam-Webster schools Trump after tweet typo. Of course, we know the president likes to tweet. We also know the president may not have a second grade degree because he always misspells. And of course, he was talking about Sally Yates, and his tweet said, ask Sally Yates under oath if she knows how classified information got into the newspaper soon after she explained it to WH counsel. Merriam-Webster wrote back and said, counsel, a lawyer appointed to advise and represent in legal matters. Counsel, an assembly of meeting for consultation and discussion. They schooled him, Mark, and I love it. Why shouldn't
I'm
they?
happy about it. You know, I worked at the Life Insurance Council, COUN.
CIL.
CIL, right? Counsel is your attorney.
CIL,
yes. I was always aware of that. It's a very easy mistake to make, but it's not like he doesn't make them all the time. So
I know. I love it. Merriam-Webster started by saying, okay, fine. We weren't going to do this, but here we go. I'm glad they did. That's their job.
Miriam rocks. I'd love to meet her. Preservationists create an interactive map of historic LGBT sites in New York City now, of course. Little sadness here because we're leaving New York City, but we're only 90 minutes away. We might actually end up somehow keeping this apartment. Anyways, I'm not putting. Just forget I said that. But yeah, so now there's an interactive map. It's the NYC LGBT Historic Sites Project has produced an interactive map featuring their work to exhaustively identify and document sites in New York City pivotal to LGBT history. I think it's fabulous.
That's cool. This is a unique one, kind of cultural, like you're talking about in Saudi Arabia. Title is Saudi Arabia, an inner beauty pageant. Story goes on to talk about this pageant that's called Miss Beautiful Morals. It's set to highlight women's commitment to their values of Islam and not their physical attributes. They say forget about backless evening gowns, don't even think about a swimsuit. It's all about inner beauty in the strict Islamic belief system of a state or a country. Interesting. Hi, I'm Miss Inner Beauty.
Inner beauty. Well, I mean, they're covered up, so you got to have some on the inside.
I like it. I really do.
Now I got how many more you got? I got 3.
As many as you got. I got one.
Well, I got 3. Okay, I got 3.
I'll pick 1 or 2 or 3.
Yeah, this is a fun one because I love Bryant Park. You've been to Bryant Park.
Beautiful. Love walking.
Skating rink, and I used to work near there for a long time. Anyways, they have the nicest public bathroom in New York City, and I can attest to that. It actually is really nice. And they just redid it with a $300,000 makeover. So if you gotta pee or stall it or whatever you got to do, go to Bryant Park because they're nice. They're like, what? This is a public bathroom? Yeah, good for them. Only
that's cool. Well, for everyone I got one like you said, and we'll make it appropriate to what you just talked about. Here's one: mysterious gold toilets are popping up so people can quote take a Trump. And then the subline says, they're pooping up all over. That's pretty funny. They're actually a piece of art, and it's a series of gold toilets with the words "Take a Trump" stated on them. They're popping up all over the U.S. They actually did pop up on the 100th day of his presidency. It was organized by 50 to 60 artists. They spray painted the toilets, and it's definitely a public art project. You can see them in Austin, Texas, Portland, Oregon, Miami, Chicago, L.A., Vegas, and Denver, with still more to come, they promise. I love it.
I'm going out today and looking for one.
Take a Trump, Mark. Go find it. Take a picture. Post it.
I will. I'll take a selfie. Despite the yuck factor, leeches are big in Russian medicine.
Ugh.
Yeah. Leeches are still widely prescribed in Russian medicine, about 10 million of them every year, in many cases as a low-cost substitute for blood thinners like warfarin. It is true, and I had read this a long time ago, that leeches actually were beneficial both for blood thinners, and then also, this is going to creep you out, but it's actually like a burn victims. They'll use them with burn victims because the leeches will eat the dead flesh, which is very good for that person who has this, medical problem. And, we just got to get past it. But yeah, it's icky.
Okay, so I tell you, it's so not ironic, it's so serendipitous that everything you talk about, I can talk about too. And I always like to talk about video, where you can go online. One of my red lines is usually about a video you can go find. Google this, guys, or go to your YouTube channels, and you'll find it if you type these words in. Headline reads, disgusting footage shows live eel being removed from a patient's body during an operation. It's happened over in China. I always usually like to include a Chinese story. So this Chinese guy, Mark, 49 years old, was said to have almost died using a folk remedy to treat his constipation by inserting an eel up into his bum. The plan went wrong. The eel got stuck. And you can go online and actually see the doctors removing this giant eel out of this guy's bum.
I don't want to watch that. That's like watching him pull a guy out of a python. a dead body out of a python.
That's hilarious. Nasty.
Okay, I got one more. Speaking of Mississippi, because I have a big family there, and I'm going to be seeing some of them in a couple of weeks. They're visiting New York City. And I'm sensitive I don't like go off on It's different. Like I absolutely believe in criticizing the Trump administration, but I don't abuse Trump voters. And I'm not saying any of them did, but you know where I'm going with that. So over 7,000 bodies may be buried beneath Mississippi University. Can you imagine
Weird.
that?
No,
Yeah,
I'd never heard this.
Yeah,
I lived
this
down
was
here.
just, yeah, not too far from it.
No.
But anyways, yeah, they found a burial ground, massive burial grounds, with 7,000 bodies buried across 20 acres at the Mississippi Medical Center campus, the former site of the state's first mental institution. From 1855 to 1935, 35,000 patients were admitted to the insane asylum, as it was called. Many of them died, and they just buried them. So you got 7,000, dead people under this medical center. Wow, that's my last red line.
That's really weird. What are they going to do? I mean, are they going to dig them out?
I don't know. We've got to stay tuned, don't we? We'll update people if they keep listening to our podcast. We'll let them know.
Well, they're going to keep listening. It just kind of creeps me out, though. I don't get it. But anyway, neither here nor there. Mine is keeping it local. We just had this story in our Shreveport Times, which I work for. It's about that TV series Naked, or whatever it's called, Naked in the Wild. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think the show is called Naked and Afraid. They've set a record in the Atchafalaya Basin. There was a guy from Monroe. His name is Jeremy McCaw. Monroe is just an hour away on the way toward Mississippi from where I live. He set a record in the Atchafalaya Basin down south of us by staying in the swamps for over 25 days, longer than any other competitor on the show. He said it was amazing, which leads him now to be able to compete in this series called Naked and Afraid XL. Did you know there was one? It's a spin-off series.
No, I thought it had been canceled or something.
I don't know. 6 men and 6 women try to brave the wilderness in the buff for 40 days. Well, he's well on his way, having set a record at 25 days. Mark, I've never been out. I don't think I've even been naked outside for an hour. Have you?
No, I ran around in a storm a few years ago.
Naked?
Yes, and possibly intoxicated, but those are.
Oh, well, that's a whole nother story.
Yeah, those were other days. I don't do that anymore.
Thank you, guys. Those were our red lines for the day.
We ready for the big toppies?
We are. You go. You go, girl.
I got a topic. You got a topic, and then I got just some short final thoughts because we're watching the time now.
And a beautiful quote.
And a quote from a celebrity, a Hollywood elitist. My big topic. What was my big topic? Oh, healthcare. Well, it's funny because we go back and forth, and it's like, I want to talk about this. No, I want to talk about that. So I get undecided. And I was going to talk about fear as a political advantage, because we're living under a man who uses fear and skullduggery and thuggery to intimidate his way into the illusion of success. Wow, man.
Well stated.
Yeah, but how can we not? It's so funny because I had no intention of talking about Comey, but how can we not talk about the fact that the President of the United States just fired the FBI director? This is like Nixon shit. I mean, where is this going to go? And, I just hope that we find out. I hope that this is not all part of, a plan, however slowly or quickly, to basically neuter any opposition to him, neuter the FBI, neuter the intelligence agencies, neuter
Sally Yates. Let's get rid of him if they're questioning things. That's what he tends to do. You're right.
And the judiciary, for God's sake. I mean, if that happens, it's over. It's over. And his voters, like I said, I won't attack them, but I think a lot of them are just going to go down in denial. Like, they're going to go down in denial. They're going to suspend habeas corpus. They're going to start arresting, jailing protesters and journalists, and his voters are going to be like, "Yay! Coal miner got his job back over here in shithole Tennessee. I saw it." And he's building a wall. He's just doing what he said he was going to do. Meanwhile, and these are, and even when he takes their health care away, even when they have no health insurance, they're going to be like applauding him. So I'm done. I said that before. I'm done. Why would you even try to reason with people like that?
God, you state this so well and so simple for people that are like just learning about it. Let's say they're visiting our country and they don't know. I'd have you explain it to them, because I think in simple terms, that's it. They're going to defend until the end, even if he takes people's rights away, because he promised to. So there's a man that sticks to his words. There's someone to respect and back.
And not only that, but they will not. And some of them will never wake up, but they will not get it until he takes their rights away. You know, when you are I know people don't like the whole white privilege thing, or it's touchy, but when you are a white privileged cisgender heterosexual heteronormative Christian in this country, you got nothing to worry about until they're threatened by you and they take your fucking rights away. Then you're gonna stop and think about it. The rest of us have to keep our eyes open. But anyways, that was not going to be my topic. My topic is, there not long ago over in Saudi Arabia, wherever it was, they had like a panel about women's rights or women's existence in that country, and it was all these Saudi men with their robes and shit, and in this country we're like mocking it. Oh, look at that, no women. Guess what happened? Mitch McConnell and his 13-member committee that is going to come up with this health care replacement legislation in the Senate, no women. Not one woman on that committee. I guess the other day I read that they got too much heat, so they invited one of the Republican women senators, to a panel or something like that. But the committee itself is 13 men, no women, to try and grapple with an issue that affects over half the country. Women's health, women's reproductive, whether it's rights or whatever, just their well-being, women's health. And it's being decided by, not only is it 13 men, but it's 13 white men. I mean, surprise, big surprise. This is what we're living with now, and it's almost laughable. It's almost laughable. How could you possibly criticize other countries and their record with women's rights and then do this shit? But they're doing it. And as somebody on Obamacare, on the Affordable Care Act, I hope they don't succeed. I won't be shocked if they do. And maybe that's what it's going to take. Maybe it's going to take an awful lot of people enduring an awful lot of pain and hurt and having their children die because they can't get them insured, before they say, we fucked up. And we fucked up really, really, really bad. So that's my big topic for the day, is just, oh my God. I got some final thoughts on it, with Jimmy Kimmel weighing in on this very issue. But that's my big topic. It's like, I just can't, I never thought that I know they had a hard time with Obama. I know that there were a lot of people who were scared of him and he's going to, bring in tanks and take our guns away. All of that was bullshit. None of it ever happened. None of it was ever going to happen. But to me, there's a completely different level of honest, palpable fear in the country of people who think that this administration and this president is up to something really, really bad.
Well, you hit on something. There's those that give rights or honor rights or protect rights, and those that take them away. And I think you hit it on the head. Obama was certainly, even with all gun control people coming down at him and some of the worst, mass murders and misuses of guns in our lifetime that we'll probably ever see happen under his administration. Look at what happened in Orlando almost a year ago today. He wasn't about taking guns away. He never even said that. He was about curtailing them, because I believe deep down Obama really believed in people's rights. And that's the protections we got as an LGBT community, the protection women got as he fought for equal rights and equal pay. And now you got a president boldly, this week alone, taking things away from people, the things that we deserve under our Constitution. And there's the difference, like you're stating, Mark, I believe. And it's disgusting.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the positive side, LGBT podcasting. Podcasts started in 2014 around. They become the new AM/FM radio. People are listening. They're listening to radio stations. People at work, they got their little phone things in their ears. It's a whole nother conversation I can get to, the destruction of the workplace, because everybody's in their own world. So why even be next to each other working when you don't have to interact? But they're listening to podcasts, and then they talk about cereal, or they talk about the new one that's by the makers of cereal. I love podcasting, and that's where you can chime in. I love LGBT podcasting. This week, they started talking about a new one that came out in April. I don't know if you heard it. It's 2 Asian Americans that do it. It's called Nancy. Have you heard of it, Mark?
No, it's just called Nancy, like Nancy Boy?
Nancy Boy. And that's why they debated the two folks that started Nancy. I know it launched April 9th. It's Tobin Lowe and Kathy too. In 2013, they met at a transom story workshop and decided they wanted to podcast, and they came up with the name Nancy because it was just the right name. It's like, use a negative name to make something positive. The purpose of their show is, in quotes, to have a show that tells provocative stories and frank discussions about LGBTQ experiences. There are 5 episodes in so far. The first episode, I think, is subtitled Hello, Hello. And she sat down with her Taiwanese American mother, too did, and they talked about coming out and how in the Asian community it's very different. They said they have a laundry list of guests they want on the show. They want to feature people like B.D. Wong. They actually want Golden Girls icon Betty White. They want to talk about real issues. And she went on to say in this press release I read, I just really want to put something good and positive into the world. And this accomplishes that. It's getting great write-ups, Mark. I think it's by public. It is. It's by WNYC Studios, which is a public radio entity out of your home or the state you live in. Isn't that wild?
That is great.
And yeah, if you go on to read about it, it's great. So then that led me to look at 10 other podcasts, including ours, that are really of import, that are LGBT related. You sent me this one, and I love it, called Throwing Shade. You still listen to it, or were you just kind of listening to
I listened to it a little bit, and of course they're big time now. They're on TV now, so.
Oh, I didn't know they did TV. Yeah, Aaron Gibson,
they
Brian
got their own
Seffi.
show. They're totally blew up. They're superstars.
Well, there were performers in the Upright Citizens Brigade in LA. It's a comedy group. They're really, really good. There's, of course, Straight Talk with Ross Matthews. He's been on a couple of years. He deals with entertainment news. Ramble Redhead, rambleredhead.com. Mark, it's been around since 2005. It's hosted by an unnamed gay man living in the United States. It's really interesting. He shares thoughts, victories, mistakes related to our community. There's one called Psychobabble. The podcasters are Tyler and Corey. They're really interesting. They deliver a weekly half-hour roundup of gossip, stories, and pop culture news, similar to ours if you haven't heard it. Here's one called Homo Ground. If you want to be intimate and kind of nasty gay, because everybody apparently has that side. I love the name of this. It's called Cocktails and Cream Puffs, where 2 guys kind of talk about their exploits during the week. Want to mention a couple more. Dan Savage has his, the Savage Lovecast. There's one called Transition Transmission, which talks about trans issues. Of course, RuPaul has his What's the Tea? And lastly, I want to talk about the Sewers of Paris.
Apparently, I know him. Matt Baum.
Yeah. That's right. It was named after a 70s Southern California gay bar. You're talking about Matt Baum, right? The guy that does it.
Yeah.
And that's where I lead up for you to talk about bringing back another podcast that you're going to do, because Matt actually speaks to a different guest every week, examining gay culture through pop iconography. And doesn't he pick like something from the past and then kind of tells why it's there? And I don't know. I got to listen to the show, but I know he has a pretty neat, unique twist like we do on our show.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, so and then of course there's the Twist with Mark and Rick. And how do people, before you talk about the comeback of your other podcast, how do people subscribe? I mentioned earlier, and I can't even tell you how you would do that.
Well, really through iTunes. You can also subscribe on Libsyn, but I would say do it through iTunes. We're on iTunes, and everybody's got. I mean, that's how I subscribe. Mm-hmm. We don't actually have a unique subscriber base to the website. I did it initially, but. No, just to subscribe through iTunes.
Yeah, so there you go. Find us.
Stitcher. You can subscribe through Stitcher. We're on SoundCloud under Mademark Media. It's one of my playlists. Uh-huh. YouTube. They can go onto the YouTube, the Twist Podcast. So that's it. I mean, there's a bunch of ways to subscribe.
To find us. And then you're bringing back one that I used to co-host with you that relates to your LGBT SR project.
Yes, it's called Age to Perfection. And I did that with you for a number of years. We were on Blog Talk Radio, which I don't know. I don't know if anybody uses that anymore. Anyways, but it was fun. I mean, and a lot of them are still in existence on the LGBTSR.com website. But anyways, we interviewed Troy Perry. We interviewed too many people to name. Troy Perry, just fabulous activists, artists, all this kind of stuff. So now that I'm moving to New Jersey and I'm going to be living in the country and having more quiet time, anyway, I wanted to bring it back because I love to interview people, and I wanted to bring this one back because it is specifically about living life fully as an older adult. That's what it was about before, and that's what I want it to be about as part of LGBTSR.com and what we offer there. So
I'm very excited about it. Yeah, we did. We had, go to LGBTSR.com and check out some of our old shows. And then, of course, Mark will be doing new ones.
Yeah, they can look up the interviews. But, yeah, starting in June, I think I'm going to be doing it again. And I'm going to have lots of really interesting people. I may only do it. I don't know if I'm going to do it once a week. I don't know yet. I really don't. But anyways.
Fabulous.
I want to know how we get ourselves into those articles about gay podcasts. How do we do that?
I know. I think you just have to be there at the right time, right place. Probably some Google on search optimization or something. We'll figure it out.
And I would encourage people, because we are growing in our listenership, to just tell people, hey, there's this podcast. It's called the Twist Podcast. We had one listener who complimented us on, I believe it was.
And that was sweet.
It was very nice. And you go, oh gosh, I guess people are enjoying it, because we have fun doing it, and we also deal with all of the issues that everybody's dealing with, and from a very queer perspective. News and opinion with a twist. That's our tagline. We're also the America's only clothing optional podcast.
Oh, we might have forgot to mention that. That's right.
I think I did at the beginning. So, folks, you can listen naked. We're not going to judge you. We don't body shame here, and that's it.
That's it. And we're going to wrap up.
Did I lose you?
No, I'm here. Something
Okay.
happened with my phone, but let's wrap it up with a quote.
Final thoughts in a quote. Remember that? We're going to do it together now. So, my final thoughts. The quotes are going to tie into the final thoughts. So you got to think about that next week, Rick. It's going to be your turn.
I'll think.
My final thoughts are just about it. Eat the poor. That was going to be my big topic. But just about this whole health insurance thing, and not only that, but I have never understood, and I've come back to this many times talking to you, how people have been so conditioned to aim their resentments down the socioeconomic ladder. Their wages are stagnant. Their lives aren't getting any better. Their kids are making less money than they did. So who do they blame? They blame the people making minimum wage. They blame the poor. I'll never understand that, because they're not the folks taking our money. Let me tell you. It's the people at the top, and they're popping the champagne corks, and they're having more caviar. This whole healthcare repeal, what it's really about, and you know this, and people who are honest know this, it's about taking all that money back to give it to the 1%. It's about these huge tax cuts the Republicans are obsessed with and have always been obsessed with. The Affordable Care Act has been funded in part by taxes and, of course, subsidies. And so they want that money. They want it in their pockets, and that's what they're going to do come hell or high water. I hope they fail. But I'll just never understand it, I'm working a $10 an hour job now, and I'm very happy doing it. I'm not complaining. But I know what it's like to think, how am I going to pay my $500 a month insurance premium? I mean, I'm lucky. I'm able to do this. It's not a survival situation for me, or I'd have to get another job. But there's an awful lot of people at my job who are working 2 jobs. They're not lazy. They're not leeches. They're not taking advantage of the system. They're making not very much money, and they're surviving. So anyway, stop eating the poor, people. Wake up. And Jimmy Kimmel had a huge viral video where he talked on his show last week about his baby having the heart problem. And, he's in a position, because of who he is and the fact that he has really good insurance and he's really wealthy, that they were able to do whatever they had to do to save this child. And then he included in his conversation with his audience about how no parent should have to make that decision. No parent should be faced with financial ruin, and as these assholes like Newt Gingrich said afterwards, well, they're going to save the baby. That's how it is in this country. Yeah, and they're going to send you a bill for $2 million, and they're for the ambulance and all this other shit. So the idea that everybody in this country has the options that Jimmy Kimmel has is absurd. Like, you got your head so far up your ass, you're looking at those $250 fake shit stained underwear. So you got to get it out of there. But no, really, get your head out of your ass if you're thinking like that, people. And I don't think any of our listeners are. Who knows? But anyways, so Jimmy Kimmel, here's my end quote. And I didn't mean to was I too vulgar?
No, this is our last thoughts, and you can be as vulgar as you wish.
Yeah, sometimes you gotta not just be pretty, because we are living with some ugly stuff. Anyways, Jimmy Kimmel apologized to his critics on the right and the conservative media, and he said, quote, "I'd like to apologize for saying that children in America should have health care. It was insensitive, it was offensive, and I hope you can find it in your heart to forgive me." So,
gives me chills.
I'm with him. I'm so sorry that I care about other people, and it's a burden. That's it.
On a happy note, it's a beautiful day.
Oh, it's gorgeous. It's gorgeous. My favorite time of year. Spring and fall are the best.
They are.
Everybody,
I'm going to take a walk. Everybody do. Yeah, no, I'm just.
I'm going to get a haircut in Chinatown.
Love it.
I won't be able to do that too many more times because we're moving. But anyways, everybody catch us next week on the Twist, America's only clothing optional podcast. Rick, it's been a good one, and I'll talk to you next time.
Have a great day, everybody. See you, Mark.
Bye.
Bye.